$300 million?
Well, almost.
You're listening to the Money Pig Podcast, brought to you by Goodwin Investment Advisory, where our mission is to lead people to financial peace, independence, and generosity. I'm your host, Reid Trego, joined today by GIA founder Tim Goodwin.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome back, Tim.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's awesome to have you here. And oh my gosh, today is kind of a cool day because tonight is our 20-year anniversary celebration, gala, party, ball.
Yep. It's kind of all that, right? So today, it's March 1st, 2024. Today, 20 years ago, exactly. So March 1st, 2004, right? I registered the name Goodwin Investment Advisory with the Georgia Secretary of State. So we are exactly 20 years old today. So we're throwing a 1920s roaring social party. So everybody's coming in, flapper dress. Not everybody in flapper dresses. The women in flapper dresses, guys, hopefully some vests, some English driving caps, some pocket watches, bow ties, the whole thing.
I'm just a farm boy. I don't know what any of those things are, but I'm sure I will be
We
there.
will have some costume accessories for you, fedoras, things like that. So
perfect.
Yeah, live band, and it's gonna be fun. It's a great day to celebrate.
Wow, 20 years. That's a long time.
That is a long time.
You're older now.
I am. Got some gray in this beard.
Yeah, you do. Well, congratulations. It's a great story. It's kind of funny. I didn't realize you opened your business about a month before I opened.
What?
Yeah.
Are you serious?
Uh-huh.
That's crazy.
And then I sold mine in 2015. So.
Oh, yeah. The franchise you're talking about.
Yes.
The first one.
Yeah, true.
Wow, that's wild. That's crazy. Close
1 month
time.
before. Who knew? Okay, amazing. Well, we just want to talk a little bit about, maybe a lot, but about a lot's happened in 20 years.
Yeah. They don't want to hear it all. That's for sure. We'll narrow it down. Some highlights.
Yeah. Or
lowlights. I don't know. We can throw them all in there.
We can do it all.
Yeah.
But it's interesting too, because I wasn't the first client here by any means, but we were pretty early.
Well, if we want to talk about first when it comes to the Trego family, your wife was my first employee.
This is true.
In 2011.
Wow. Okay. Right.
I did have a client that started working for me before that, but she came as a contractor. That didn't work out quite so well.
Right.
So I kind of readdressed hiring, and I literally was talking to this client, and she was saying, I got to make some more money. I'm going to go work at Home Depot. We're in Atlanta, a lot of Home Depots around here. And so I was like, well, how much are you going to make an hour? She's like $9 an hour. Now this was 2010 or something like that. So I was like, can you just come work for me for that? She's like, yeah. So that was the extent of my hiring process,
Nice.
back then. Moving forward, we developed the 12-step fireproof hiring method. That's a mouthful and obviously a really large claim. But yeah, once we got your wife on board, we were trying to be very intentional about, having a interview process to try to find the best team members. But yeah, she literally set up payroll and was the first person on it. And now we have a leadership team of 5, but really it was just your wife was my leadership team for so many years.
And if I wouldn't have stolen her away for 5 years, she probably would have just had continuous service.
We call that here the dark ages when your wife wasn't here. So I think actually did the math the other day because I'm talking about it a little bit tonight. So I think she was here for 6 years. So I think 2016, 17, you guys decided to do another franchise and I lost her. And then you guys, sold the franchise, we'll say.
Well, COVID
killed the franchise. Yeah. And then I got her back. So she's been my boomerang employee.
Well, it's been good for both of you, I think.
I think so. Yeah. So Christy being the first employee, we now have, including me, 13. Mm-hmm. Something really unique about the firm is that if you take me away, that's 12 employees. That includes you.
Okay.
8 of those 12 were clients before employees.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So that's, I've recently realized that is, as I talk to some of my peers in the business, that's a kind of a unique thing about our firm. So
yeah, to have clients come in and maintain trust with you even after they see how things run on the inside.
Right.
Because I bet there's firms out there that couldn't maintain that trust.
Interesting. Like once you see behind the curtain,
Right.
under the rug, whatever,
Don't
you're
you
like,
think?
I don't even want to be a client here, let alone an employee. Yeah, that's
Right.
risky. I mean, we got nothing to hide, look underneath the hood, whatever. I mean,
No, it's all true.
how'd we meet Justin? He did our first state audit,
That's right.
so and then came to work for us a year later. But for me, it's why not sell what you eat? There's that good advice out there, eat what you sell. So like you already are a client, you're consuming this service, you like our investments and our philosophy and our planning. I've got a need that you can fit. So, why not jump aboard? So I think we have some like unique stories, but when it all adds up to 8 out of 12, my peers are like, that's not normal. Like you're doing something intentional there. And I really just kind of, keep in mind when I, meet folks like, I wonder if they'd ever have a place and a fit in the team. And, one of my personal missions is to create careers people love. But like Herman, for example, Herman helps us with compliance. And when he hired us as a client years before he started as an employee, he was in like M&A, mergers and acquisitions. Like he read all the small print, like he read all our small print and was like, hey, your documents are good, but there's like there's some grammar and a typo here and there. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such detailed reading. And so I remember keeping in my head like, man, when I need help with compliance, let me see if I can get this guy. So, he retired early. And so this is like a side hustle, but that's an example.
Hilarious. I love it. Yeah. Herman, he's great. Yeah. Just another client, does some part-time work.
Yeah, absolutely. We do have a couple part-timers. It's probably more like 9.5 full-time equivalents.
Yeah. Well, recently we rebooted an episode, the very first episode we did of this podcast, which was just about a year ago. And it was all about, introduction to GIA. And it was me and you talking about this. And so
I thought it was fantastic.
Of course it was.
Fantastic episode.
Of course we were. But anyway, so we talked about some of this, but there are a few things here now that 20 years of GIA and 1 year into the Money Pig podcast, I guess, that are worth kind of just going back, walking down memory lane.
Yes, let's do it. Do we need like some music? Do you have a button you can hit? Like the go down memory lane button?
Let's see. No, not that one.
I think you've just woken up from that dream.
Button for you, all right? Okay, now let's not do that. Okay.
You need labels on those buttons. They're just colors.
Yeah, it's all good. All right. So here we go.
There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
That's the walk down memory lane music we were looking for.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So you got a beautiful office here.
Yes.
I imagine you just started here.
That's
it's
right.
always been like this.
Was that Dave Ramsey has some comment about, it took 15 years and you're an overnight success or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah. So start out of the spare bedroom of my house with a hope prayer and a fax machine that doubled as a phone. It was like that Panasonic, like holstered into the fax machine.
Right.
So had a very close relationship with that phone on, dialing for dollars all day long. So, so then I went, after 3 years of working from home, I went to a shared office space for a year. It's where I met Joe and Kelly. I guess I won't say Kelly's last name, but they became clients. And eventually Joe also came to work for me in 2011 after your wife started. So he has worked for us for 13 years as well. So he's technically the second employee. So he's our senior wealth advisor. Anyway, met Joe at that shared office location. A year later, we teamed up to move to an office location that we were at for 14 years. Eventually, Joe and Kelly shut down their business. Joe came to work for me. Kelly went home to raise babies. And and then, 2 years ago almost, we moved into this beautiful office. We've got 4,500 square feet, lots of glass and light, and it's just very welcoming. So we got room to grow in here for sure. But yeah, this is much different than my crammed, spare bedroom where my wife was a teacher. She'd bring home like the pet canaries, and they're like squawking in the other bedroom or, eventually, it's just like, oh my God, neighbors know you're home. They're knocking on the door because they were in between jobs. And I'm like, I'm working even though I'm at home, come a long way.
That's amazing. That's good. Okay. And then I see, so one employee, to, oh, you already mentioned this, but now 13.
Yeah. I mean, 12. What I didn't mention was that we all have nicknames. So I'm into nicknames. It's really funny. So we call your wife C Money because, she's a master eye daughter and T-crosser. We mentioned Herman earlier. His name is Mr. Opa. That's South African for grandpa because he just loves his grandkids. We call you Rico, because there was a time where you said Rico works for you.
That's right.
And you were doing handyman stuff. So we've got all kinds of different names, but as a team, we call ourselves B-Top, which is best team on the planet. So, yeah. And actually we nickname so many things here that our printers have nicknames. So, so the Admiral, the Black Widow, the Captain, those are all. And there's one former name there, but yeah, we've got names of printers around here. It's awesome. We like to have some fun. You got to make finance fun when you can.
Well, we nicknamed these conference rooms too, Thing 1 and Thing 2.
Thing 1, yeah. I think we're lacking a little creativity there, but that's still pretty funny.
Okay, so you have a leadership team,
yes,
right? I guess we already kind of touched on this too, but it used to be my wife and you.
That's right. And we adopted this framework, and if there's other, entrepreneurs or business owners listening, called EOS. And that's a framework we run the business on as far as strategic thinking, making decisions, tracking scores, tracking, quarterly goals and rocks. So so we've got a more formalized leadership team now that meets on a weekly basis. And I think that is one of the biggest contributors to our success over the years, for sure.
Entrepreneurs Operating System. I love it.
Yes.
It's great.
Yes. Yeah. It keeps it simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it keeps meetings from being super boring and meaningless. Yeah.
Yeah. Amen. Okay. So from the very beginning, managing assets, this is what people probably actually care about. Managing other people's money.
How do you invest all this money? Yeah.
Like, how has that changed over the years?
It really has evolved and grown, but I wouldn't say it has changed drastically. So we've always been into investing our clients in funds of stocks versus like individual stocks, and funds of bonds instead of individual bonds. So that much has always remained true. We've always wanted to be diversified in those funds, and we've always been a buy and hold firm. The fourth thing that I would say, as an always, we've always been highly biased towards the lowest cost share or expense ratio of mutual funds we could find.
And let me say this, because just as a normal person, I hear, I hear buy and hold firm, and it makes me feel like it's boring. But I want to put an exclamation point on that and say, what you mean is we want to be the market. We don't necessarily have to beat the market. If we do, it's great. But being the market is plenty. And that's really what we mean by buy and hold.
I like that. I like the way you brought that up. You're totally right, because we try to beat the market by the diversifications and the fund selection. We don't try to beat the market by being out of it when it's going down. So that is something that we've been doing all 20 years. Now, initially we were an ETF only portfolio that didn't change a whole lot. Fast forward to now, we still do funds, and we have ETFs and index funds, but we do have some active funds. And instead of just me making those decisions like I did at first, and eventually the team of advisors was making that decision, we, over the past couple of years, have used institutional partners with big groups of chartered financial analysts, CFAs, to help us pick the funds, to know what percentage of funds to put our clients' money in, and how often to rebalance that. So the partner that we have now, unless something's crazy is happening in the market, we are making changes twice a year to either a fund that's fallen out of favor, or we are changing the allocation of that fund, maybe based on market assumptions, or we're just rebalancing back to those targets. So we're making those changes twice a year. When things are crazy, like back in 2020 as COVID was becoming a thing, we actually rebalanced our clients' portfolios 6 times. We made 6 changes that year because it was just so volatile and so many things were really changing. So that's been huge. And I will say, I'm okay saying this on the record, that in October of 22, our default portfolio, unless our clients had a strong conviction and opposed to this, we took everyone to a U.S. equity only portfolio. So we have a great global portfolio, and we have an ESG portfolio as well. But almost all of our clients are in that default portfolio, and international dragged domestic performance down last year. So a lot of those international funds, so folks typically with a global portfolio didn't do near as well as our portfolio did last year.
Yeah, and last year's just a great example. Of course, the the year before. It's a terrible example, but
because the market was going down, in 22.
It's a good example of why, again, be the market. Like when I talk to friends, I remember years ago, I was talking to a friend. And I was like, "Hey, I trust GIA. You got to check them out for your funds." He's like, "How's your guy do for you?"
Yeah.
I'm like, everybody thinks you have to beat the market.
Yeah.
You don't really. Of course, who wouldn't want to?
Well, if the long-term average, right, of the S&P 500 is, depending on the time frame, you're looking 10, 11% over a very long period of time. If you can compound over decades at 10%, the compounding rate it's going to really exponentially grow that money fast. You don't have to get the 20 and 30% returns. No. Now, I will say, Reid, that like when the market goes down, like in 2022, we would like our clients to go down less, even in a full equity portfolio. That's our goal, to go down less on the equity side of the portfolio. And when it's going up to, at least be close. If we can be ahead, great. And we're always looking at net of fees. But last year we were ahead of the S&P 500 net of fees in the U.S. equity portfolio. Awesome. So that was a great place to be. Perfect. Past performance is not indicative of future results. Just got to throw that out there.
Yeah, okay. That was for Herman.
Yeah.
Herman, you're welcome, Mr. Opa. Okay, so let's back to the 20-year conversation. Sometimes technology helps. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, there are times where I'm just like, do we just scrap all the technology, just go back to a pad of paper and just sit down here and have real conversations with people? Sometimes I get concerned when, I walk by a conference room and everybody's looking up at the screen because they're filling out updating all these very detailed numbers in their plan. And believe me, that we have robust software that does incredible financial planning. But I think we've got, what we're good about doing is appealing to not just the numbers for our clients, but to the feeling of the investment, the feeling of the decision, the feeling of having confidence in a plan, the feeling of having independence. Folks are often like, well, should I pay off my mortgage or not? You sit there over on the spreadsheet and do it. It's like, well, when you can make 5% in a CD, right now at a bank, but your mortgage is less than that, the left side of your brain on the spreadsheet says not to do it. But you got to consider the right side of the brain where they've probably dreamed their whole lives of being debt free. They'd like to be barefoot in the grass and own it all. You can't, as Dave Ramsey would say, you can't foreclose. You can't repo a house that doesn't have a mortgage on it.
100% foreclosures
had a house with a mortgage on them. Yeah. So there's a feeling about that as well. And so we recognize that and we take that time. And even though we use really great technology and software for our planning, we also try to be a very high touch firm while we're also being high tech. So when we're constantly looking at those software solutions to make sure they're the best. And so we've made, I wouldn't say a lot of changes, but some very meaningful, effective changes to the technology we've used to make sure that actually in the end really helps the client.
Love it. Started the company with 0 assets under management. I mean, you didn't even have in your own account with $500 in it?
22 years old. All the money I had was getting this thing started. So
funny.
Yeah, so it really was technically 0. My shout out to my mom and dad that were my first clients, and a college buddy with a little stock account that he was willing to have me take over. So but really 0. It wasn't like I bought another company or brought on an advisor with a book or anything like that. So we were joking about it earlier, but we are dangerously close to 300 million. I wish I could say at the party tonight that we crossed it. We're probably right around 290.
Yeah.
But that's an incredible growth trajectory, especially when you consider we did it all organically. I've not hired an advisor with a book and I've not bought another company. So it's been 100% organic growth from 0 to 300,000 in 20 years. What's really funny too, is you go, well, Tim, how did you do at gathering assets the first 7 years of business? Like before you started hiring people, how much, assets did you get to? And at the end of 2010, right before I hired your wife, I had $10 million under management.
Really?
Yeah. So it's an easy number to remember. At the end of 2010, I had 10 million under management, but I started in 2004. So it took me 6 years to gather $10 million. I mean, this firm grows more than that in a quarter.
Yeah.
And I was excited to sign one client a month. There were a couple of years there, 2.5 years, where we were signing 2 clients a week. Now we slowed that down,
right?
But just to be very intentional, make sure we got the right fit and we can get back to clients and give them the great experience we want. We decided not to grow quite that fast. So so that's pretty incredible. The exponent in 2010, I set that goal to grow 10x in 10 years. So to go from 10 million to 100 million by the end of 2020. And we got there a year early.
Yep.
So in 2019, we hit 100 million, reset the goal to go to $1 billion by the end of 29. And we are still on target for that. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, 10x in 10 years. That's kind of the framework we're working on.
All right. Very nice. Very nice. Okay, so some years ago, you started encouraging clients to consider giving money away through a donor advised fund. Was that a new concept at the time?
It was to me.
Yeah.
It was to me. Yeah. They've been around a lot longer than Tim Goodwin knew about them, but really, really great way to give money. Once you it's almost like opening your own foundation, your own 501c3. So once you contribute to your DAF, donor advised fund, let's say you put 10 grand in it, that's your deduction when you funded the DAF, because it's sort of like your own 501c3. But you can wait to give that money that's in the DAF now way later. It can be invested while it's there. It can grow. So it can increase the impact of your philanthropy. You can give anonymously. It does have to go to another 501c3 nonprofit. But it's really cool to be able to give anonymously. For me, it really has simplified my tax prep. So instead of like trying to track down the places I give money to, it's all going to be, well, just how much you put in the DAF, because I do all my giving through the DAF now. So so it systematizes giving, it simplifies tax prep, and can kind of like increase your future philanthropy. So it's a really cool tool to use when it comes to generosity. So we actually track, like we celebrate as a team.
I was just going to ask.
Were you going to ask that? Yeah.
Yeah. Do you track?
We track like how many DAFs we've set up for clients and how much money they've given away through that. Again, that's not on us. That's just on our clients. It's kind of just fun to brag on them and to help them do this. But I think last year was somewhere around $300,000 that clients gave away through their DAFs. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a good number that's really been growing over the years. So that's cool.
All right. So other things that happened on birthdays, you send clients books.
I was trying to remember what year did we start doing this, but I actually remember where I was driving. Do you ever remember where you were driving, certain decisions when things happen?
There's a few.
Yeah. So I remember where I was driving, where I was like, I want to start sending birthday cards to my clients on their birthdays and offer them a birthday book. And I mean, this was a long time ago.
Where were you driving?
I was on Interstate 575 up here between Town Lake and Ridgewalk Parkway.
Cool.
And I remember thinking, well, gosh, how are we going to afford this if they all say yes? But I was like, I just got to do this. I got to do this. And what's funny is at the time, the first client that cashed in on a birthday book was actually in Austria, like the country of Austria. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? Like they're missionaries, they're U.S. missionaries over there. And I'm like, how much is it going to cost me to ship a book to Austria? But little did I know, Amazon, was global even back then. And it was something like $4, Wow. And I was like, all right, we can do this. So the exciting thing is we've continued that. It's surprising to me been a real client favorite. You get this card, and you can have any book you want in any format, but the team recommends books, and we change that list and update it. It's very easy for the client to pick one of those books. And last year we sent over 200 birthday books.
That's amazing.
200.
My favorite part of it, actually, though? Yeah. Okay, I've probably read almost all the books on the list.
It's a good list.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I like when my kids, who are clients as well, get their birthday card and they cash in their it's like birthday book. It's
an investment in our clients. It's an investment in their growth. Mm-hmm. It's a really, if there's any advisors listening, really good idea to consider doing that for your clients. It means a lot to them. And at the end of the day, the value is tremendous compared to the cost. Yep. So we're just keeping that going.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So it didn't start this way, but within the last few years, 3-4 years, you decided that all advisors here would be CFP designated.
Yeah. What's CFP stand for?
Certified Financial Planner.
Easy for you to say.
Easy for me to say with that. Coming off the flu.
Yeah. You're just doing a really good job. Yeah. Now I'm going to put you to the test, try to get you to talk more. So per regulators, like the Securities and Exchange Commission, or your advisor may be state regulated, you have to have this exam called the Series 65, the Uniform Investment Advisors Law exam. So required by law.
I'm familiar with that.
You are very familiar with that one, aren't you, Reid? You have that one. So So that one is required by law. If you're going to give financial advice and you're going to charge for that, you've got to get this exam and pass it, and then you've got to actually register it or kind of tag it to the firm you work for. So that's always been the case, of course, since the beginning. I had my Series 65 before I started the firm because I got it at the other firm I work for. So, but yeah, 4 or 5 years ago, I was like, you know what, this CFP it's very comprehensive in its education and the scope and everything it covers. It's got more and more authority just in the industry, and more investors and clients and potential clients are aware of it. And I think it fills in any potential holes that advisors could have. It certainly could fill those holes. So yeah, so we've required all advisors, once they're here, if they don't have the 65 yet, they got to get that first. And then after that, they have to immediately go towards their CFP. It takes really 18 months to 24 months just to get through the educational requirement of the CFP. Then you sit for this horrible exam. It's so painful. And then you have to get, 2 years of experience in the industry before. It might be more than that. Maybe it's 2 years if you're under a CFP, 3 years if you're not,
right,
to get the full credentials. So all of us are CFPs. Ray is a CFP candidate. He hits his experience requirement, I think, just a few months here. So we'll have the full credentials soon. Every single advisor will be fully CFP'd.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. Can I tell you one of my favorite things?
Let's go. Let's hear it.
And I was around when this was developed. It's the Good Life Pyramid.
Oh my gosh.
We have it on the wall here behind me. I wish you could see us.
I know.
This
is really a cool thing.
Truly one of my favorite things. I'm like, okay, I listen to other shows and podcasts and personalities, and they have their thing. So talk us through the Good Life Pyramid.
The Good Life Pyramid is really something that we invented. It's trademarked. It's an image. It was something that was originally designed for my team, to how we're delivering services to our clients. And then eventually we started sharing it to our clients. And I've really never used it for marketing. So, little light bulb moment here, ladies and gentlemen, on the pod today. We're going to be probably marketing this a little bit more. And it's really the only trademarked, intellectual property that we have like this. So you want me to explain it again? It's or do you want to take a stab at it?
Well, yeah. The simple version is it's like I have a psychology degree.
There it is.
So I learned about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where you take care of food, shelter, and water.
Exactly.
And then as you have that met, then you can move up to top of this pyramid and come to self-actualization.
Yes.
We just do it in terms of finances with the Good Life Pyramid.
That's right. That's exactly right. And a lot of folks are coming in at the bottom of the pyramid. Right? They're coming in because they want to get out of debt, build wealth, assess risk, make better investment returns. They got questions about insurance. They want to reduce taxes. Once those layers and those foundational pillars are set, we keep having meetings with clients. It's like, well, the wealth's building, the risk is diversified, we're growing, all the insurance is covered. What are we going to talk about now? Well, let's talk about some goals. Let's talk now that the problems aren't really problems, that the squeaky wheel got the oil or replaced. What's the goal? Where's the wagon going? Well, what are we going to do for college? What are we going to do for retirement? What do you think about real estate and charity? That's where we start having that conversation about the donor advised fund. And then we still keep meeting with a client after that. What are we talking there? Now we're kind of moving up to this peace of mind. Okay. Maybe they're getting a little bit older too. Maybe their parents are older and they want to make sure there's a plan for their parents, that their loved ones are cared for. Maybe their overall finances, there's a lot of moving parts. They want to feel organized and in control and start worrying less, just overall, especially about money, but overall. And then at the top of the pyramid, like you said, Maslow's hierarchy of needs is self-actualization. For us, it's that retiring to something, that we're retire by design. It's that having that legacy and that purpose in your work. Maybe you're still working. Maybe you're gradually retired. You love calling it your purpose-driven sunset careers, right?
Yes.
That's what it is. Mm-hmm. Purpose-driven sunset careers,
right?
Which is what you're doing right here, hosting the pod, right? So, right. And maybe eventually that is, maybe no W-2 or 1099 work, but we want that to be a fulfilling, purposeful time. But it's hard to sit here and talk about, hey, what legacy do you want to leave for your kids when somebody's in debt? They don't know if they're saving enough. Their investments underperformed the market last year, and they keep hearing they're supposed to have life insurance. Full disclosure, we don't sell it, but they don't know what they're supposed to do. They can't talk about the legacy they want to leave their kids. So Maslow is right. Mentally, we're not prepared to talk about some of these things until we've kind of moved up the pyramid. So yes, pretty powerful tool.
My favorite story that you told that related to Maslow's hierarchy.
Yes.
Okay, so you were with your dad and brothers? You
yes.
canoeing or rafting down the Grand Canyon.
That's right.
Right.
For a week
on the Colorado River.
Yes.
And they leave you a week and you're going to have, and like you get on this raft.
Yeah.
And first thing, like Maslow's kicks in because you're like, where am I going to go to the bathroom?
That's it. That was the first question. Yeah. I mean, you remember the story good. Yeah. I can remember like the concern in everyone's face, mine absolutely, as we get off these fancy air-conditioned coach buses and onto these rafts, and we're just slowly floating down the Colorado River, and that coach bus is getting smaller and smaller in the distance, and then all of a sudden, this little light bulb turns on. Everyone has the same question, which is, how do I go to the bathroom? And I don't know if I'm going to address that on the pod, but we can talk about that if we meet in person. So there's a method for that. It's very specific. And then you think, I'll just jump in the water. The water is so very cold. I can't remember, but it was somewhere in like the 40s, I think. It was so god-awful cold.
Yeah, I've seen ads. Like, that's how they make Coors beer. It comes right out of the mountains. So I'm sure that's the same cold water.
Yeah. But then it was like, how safe am I? Can I sleep outside? Or do we need to deal with, snakes? Or like, what am I, how am I going to, what food, how much food do we have? Like all those basic necessities. But it was interesting that after about a day or two, people started kind of being comfortable, and then they start like asking, what do you do for a living? And tell us about your family. They want to be known. They want to build community. Then eventually there's this esteem where people want to be known as good for something. Oh, Tim's good at dragging up the raft or whatever it is, taking the trash out, whatever, and you start wanting to be known for something, a master in something. And then eventually my dad is a pastor. He's a retired pastor now, but at the time he ended up literally at the end of the trip doing a church service.
Wow. Yeah.
And just invited anybody to come, just kind of have a spiritual conversation. So I was a little uncomfortable at the time, but I'm like, look, this is what he does. And here we are, right? It went all the way from where do I go to the bathroom to I'm attending a church service in the Grand Canyon.
6 days,
Yeah. It was the fastest trajectory up the Maslow's hierarchy of needs I've ever seen.
Yeah, you proved Maslow just like that.
Yeah.
Okay. It's amazing. Okay. Oh, we have a lot of Google reviews. Like if you search registered investment advisories, I really can't find another one with as many Google reviews as we have.
It's interesting. When I find the ones that are close, they've generally gotten them over a short period of time. So we've been doing this pretty consistently since, 2017 or something like that. So ours have really just grown over time. And whether it's good or bad, I mean, a lot of my peers will ask for referrals from their clients just all the time, every meeting. I've just never really liked that, Let's just create an exceptional experience for them. And if they're so compelled to refer us to their friends and family, great.
But can you write down three names of 3 friends for me, please? Can you do that?
I went on LinkedIn and I printed out some of your connections. I circled these 5 people that I'd really love to be introduced to.
No.
Yeah, right. So, but what I've always said is like, if there's anything you're going to ask your client to do, it's leave us a Google review, right? So, and they're like, oh, okay, well, what about? And I just say, just say how we made you feel. How do we make you feel in here? Mm-hmm. Let folks know we don't talk over your head, that we really listen, that we try really hard to care. Those kinds of things, give a shout out to other people on the team that you've interacted with over time. And so just let other folks know how we've made you feel. And, it's crazy. Who knows how long those Google reviews stay there, for eternity, I guess. I don't know. So
till Google decides.
To shut it down or gets replaced by some, other company or something. So,
right.
So it pays a lot of dividends for us. Who knows how many thousands or tens of thousands of times some of these Google reviews that our clients have left have been read.
Oh, and it happens. I mean, for a period of time there, I was taking intake calls.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And I'd be like, how'd you hear about us? Oh, I just saw online. You guys seem to have a lot of good reviews. I'm like, yep, they're all 5-star reviews or whatever. I'm like, it's almost embarrassing.
Yeah, at some point somebody will not leave us a 5-star review, and that's okay. But we're about 1,000 right now, and it's really more to me about the words that they say in the review. So a lot of them are leaving that 5-star rating, but the review actually typing some stuff out. Usually people might type out a word or a phrase. We usually get paragraphs. It's unbelievable. Those paragraphs are incredibly helpful for search engine optimization. So when folks are searching best advisor near me or best advisor in Woodstock, Georgia, or somewhere in our service areas around here, they're really getting pointed to the website. So that's always been really important for us. We grow with just client referrals alone, but because we get these Google reviews on top of just what we're doing with our website, creating content all the time, it almost doubles our growth. Folks come and go, no, I don't know any clients. I just, figured this out online. So, and that's how we make decisions about a lot of things. I think we're looking at those reviews.
It's amazing. And then something else I know about you is generosity is a very high priority in your life. We talked about this recently. You were raised that way.
Yes.
Can't really help it.
Hardwired.
Yeah, hardwired that way. So you set aside a certain percentage of revenue that goes, tell me about this.
Yeah. And, I'm going to get up on a little soapbox here real quick. Like when I'm at the store and I read some little thing and it says, we give a percentage of profits away, it kind of irks me because just kind of lets them out of jail free. Like what if you don't make any profit? You don't have to give anything away. And the profits, that's, for a lot of us, that's a small number at the end of the P&L, So it didn't. So I intentionally from the beginning wanted to make sure that being generous as a company was built into our budget, was built into our model, was not a percentage of profits, was a percentage of revenue. So we still have to be profitable and even after we give. So it's on the bigger number, the first number in the P&L, the revenue. So we give away 2% of our revenue back into a lot of times into the community. I mean, I say it's always into the community. Some of it's local and some of it's expanded from here. But yeah, our leadership team will make that decision. Any, team member here can suggest it. And then we also match up to a certain amount. If any team member gives to a nonprofit, we'll match that as well. And that's separate. That's separate from the 2% we set aside.
Yeah, I take advantage of that.
Yeah, good. I'm glad you do.
Yeah, it reminds me of you hear people should I tithe on my gross pay or my net pay?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And then the cynic says, well, do you want gross blessings or net blessings?
Oh, God,
sorry. But I think it's brilliant. I love it.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's cool too because, everybody has a hard day at work, and people around here work their buns off, know. And I sent a video out to the team maybe last week about the impact that one of GIA's gifts had made to a nonprofit. And I said, look, you guys are the ones here generating this, and you work hard, and it impacts people you will never meet in a really positive way. And so I think that's a special aspect of our culture.
That's awesome. Okay. Clients in 15 states.
Yes.
That's amazing. Still a debt-free company.
Yep.
Still profitable.
Yep.
With a big goal.
We do have a BHAG, big
which
hairy
we mentioned
audacious
a minute
goal.
ago to be at $1 billion in assets under management by 2029.
Look at that, just putting it on the record.
Boom.
It gets harder to move these bigger numbers, if I'll say that. So, if we're 1 or 2 years off, we'll be okay.
It's
so,
okay.
Yeah,
it is. It is, but that's fun. That's good. It's always good to have goals and be moving forward. And but at the same time, taking care of the clients that brung you.
That's right.
Right? That's something I know we'll never forget here.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I really try to make sure that our team members are just really enjoying their jobs, between the benefits we have, between the generous culture, between, having fun, having a party every once in a while like tonight. Because if they really enjoy their jobs and are happy about what they do, then that ultimately creates a better experience and better outcomes for our clients. And so, absolutely. I think just as long as that was one of the reasons we slowed that growth down, as I mentioned before, was stressing the team out. And I was like, that's a big concern of mine. We don't want the team to be stressed out. That's going to flow down to the clients, and then they're going to take a couple of days to hear back from us, and that's just not acceptable. So, that's one of our secret sauces, I guess. Our secrets to, the outcome and the experience that our clients is having is so great. A lot of that has to do with the team here really loves the work they get to do.
That's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing. And maybe someday I'll come back off the podcast only circuit and, help take.
Yeah, you're like your wife was kind of like a boomerang that left and came back, but you're more of like a yo-yo. Like you're still connected always, and then the capacity to which you're connected adjusts over time. I'm okay with it.
I'm very connected and I'm not very connected.
It does kind of remind me of that song, like Hotel California. You can check in, but you can never leave.
I'm pretty sure that's the case.
People can check out, but it seems like Rico Reid is like, no, I'll stick around.
I do kind of all the roles.
Yeah. Check this hotel out.
Hey, have a great time. Congratulations. 20 years.
It's going to be so fun. Thank you. Excited.
Yeah. And as financial advisors, I like to remind you listeners that we manage and balance portfolios, but the unique value, and they're pretty good portfolios too, but the unique value is that we work to understand our clients' individual goals so we can have really good individual planning conversations, because all of those conversations are so personal and unique to each individual. Thanks again for listening. You can always reach out to us at moneypig@goodwininvestment.com. That's our email, moneypig@goodwininvestment.com. Send us a question, give us feedback. Also, leave us a 5-star review wherever you hear your podcast. Thanks for listening. See you next time.
The Money Pig podcast is hosted by Reid Trego, a financial advisor at Goodwin Investment Advisory. This podcast is intended to share information and perspectives, but should not be interpreted as legal, financial, or tax advice. The opinions shared by participants are not necessarily endorsed by the company. Goodwin Investment Advisory is regulated by the SEC, and the company operates in compliance with applicable securities laws and regulations.